Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Welcome to another episode of Modern Chiropractic Mastery. Today, I'm excited to bring on Dr. Audra Lance to discuss quite a few things, but I wanted to have her on because she's someone that I know has created a vision for herself and for her clinic and is getting there and has gotten there in certain respects and has done really remarkable things. But I wanted to show everything from her journey, the obstacles to get there. It's not easy. We talk about that and the struggle it takes. And, whether you're a business owner or an associate or even a chiropractic student, some of the things you need to consider to really, make this career worth doing. It's not easy, but it's amazing when you put in the effort. And I wanted her to spotlight some of that. We talk about some of the things that she's done in the community and certain things she's doing with pro athletes and also other entertainers. And then we get really deep into the vision for what she has for the clinic and a rebrand that she's doing and the team she's built and her gratitude around the team members that are also helping build that clinic and certain ideas around that. But just wanted to spotlight a doc that is doing it right, is working hard. We talk about delayed gratification. We talk about leadership, what it looks like down the road when you do run a team. And we talk about a lot of different things that a chiropractor who's really in the thick of growing and really maintaining the excitement around that. And so I wanted to share her story and some of the advice that she has in this career we call chiropractic. So without further ado, here is my interview with Dr. Audra Lance. All right. Welcome to the show, Audra. I really appreciate you hopping on here and kind of telling your story of your journey of practice, graduating and practice ownership, some of the cool things you've been doing and going on from there. But before we dive into that, just introduce yourself and we'll go from there.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. I practice in Nashville, Tennessee, a little south of there, specifically in Brentwood. And we are cash-based practice. I started that way, did the slow burn, I guess. Mm-hmm. And we specialize in essentially high performers. So people that care about their health, who want to invest in their health. And we are a clinic that spends time with people, either an hour or 30 minutes. DNS, ART, nerve flossing, all the things from around the world we put together in a individualized plan, depending on what's going on, whether that is an injury or a chronic pain case or people coming in wanting performance.
When and where did you graduate from chiropractic school?
National in
Right.
2013. Oh my God, I'm dating myself.
That's why I did it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I just want to get kind of a lay of the land of, okay, you're about 13 years into it. And, you've been doing a lot of good things to the point where I know I heard about what you were doing in that area some years ago. And it's been cool to see that. How many doctors now are part of your group, including yourself?
Including myself, we have 3 on the team.
That's awesome. What year did you hire your first doctor?
Oh, wow.
Spot. Roughly.
I think 6 years in, possibly around there, 6 to 7.
Yeah. So let's go back. Did you start as an associate anywhere? Or did you open up right away?
No, I was used to living on no food. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this and really do it, let's try now. So I actually got on care.com as I was driving to Nashville crying the whole time, and became a nanny while trying to go to 12 different banks that told me no, and start the practice.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on for a few reasons. Definitely, I wanted to spotlight some of the stuff you're doing with the high performers because that's cool and unique, and I think it's inspiring to hear. But just like you and I were pre-chatting a little bit before we hit record of, how hard it is to build a practice, how challenging it is. It becomes a different form of leadership to get there. There's a lot of sacrifice to get there. And I think one of the things that I've harped on over the years was that oftentimes younger DCs will come to a practice that's well established like yours and see it, and but they don't see what it the behind the scenes, right? Like the fact that you were on care.com and weren't eating, and like just the sacrifices that it took to get there to make that happen. And I think that's something I like to hear it. I like to hear it,
Mhm.
like, what would you say roughly, how many years before you felt like you could get off care.com, you could go to a steak dinner restaurant? Like, what
Yeah.
was it roughly when you said to yourself, okay, you know what, this was worth the sacrifice. There's still a lot more to go, but I feel like, yeah, we're getting there. Like, how many years in was it roughly?
Where I wasn't white knuckling the steering wheel,
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
5. 5.
5, right?
A good 5. And that I
Yeah,
mean, I don't like, I still don't know what a 40-hour work week is. That seems light. Um, so it's just a lot.
yeah, it is. And I think, and you've been willing to do a lot, which I think is a testament to, yeah, obviously your work ethic and everything, and then the results that you've gotten from there. What were some of the things when you started out? Because I also like to hear, I like for chiropractors to hear that journey early on. What was it like? How did you build a practice? Were you getting out in the community? Were you creating content? Because you do a lot of cool stuff now, but what did it look like back then to really get it growing?
Well, back in the day, the social media wasn't as big of a thing as it is now. Um, so I am really grateful for all the mentors that I had and people willing to talk with me and coach with me. And I, in school, went and shadowed so many people and made those relationships. And I feel like any clinic I shadowed, whether it was aligned with how I wanted to practice or not, I learned something, whether that was how they talked to the patient, how they talked to their team, maybe the routine that they had. There was always some pertinent takeaway that I was like, that's really cool. How could I apply that in my instance? So I feel like that was one key thing that, I was able to have these relationships with these practicing doctors and even in other specialties, and ask them questions, and them give me, which I call some of my talks I do now, reality checks. Because I feel like in school, sometimes you're pumped up, which you need that. But you get out there and you're like, "Oh, wow, that's not the reality." And I was glad that I had, like, this is gonna be really hard, and you're gonna really have to lock in, going into it. So, my first patient came from the ART website,
There you
and
go.
he still signs his emails, "Your first patient." So, having that full body certification, and I think I had a couple more than that at that time, so that the people ask, "What how did you get your first person to walk in?" But then from there, it was really building relationships in the community
Mhm.
of, I did the networking group things because I usually had free dinner or coffee and breakfast.
So
So,
you could eat,
yes,
yeah.
exactly. But then just, like, being there, I learned about how many careers and businesses there are out there that I didn't even know, and it was me being more interested, not necessarily like, "Oh, here's my name, here's my patients." It was just building authentic relationships, and I moved to a town I didn't know anyone too, so I'm also trying to make friends.
Yeah.
So
Do
it was just a lot of getting out there and getting a lot of no's, getting a lot of,
yeah.
I don't even know if that was worth my time, but doing it anyways.
Yeah, that's the thing is sometimes it's not worth doing it, but it is worth doing it, right? Like, yeah, that
Mhm.
one particular instance didn't work, but the summation of all of it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I tell a funny story because I used to go to a lot of the networking. We down here in Florida, we have a lot of personal injury stuff, and
Mhm.
these MRI centers would put together these nice, doctor attorney networking dinners and drinks and all that. And they would do it at great places, so I would go. I'd love it, and I would run into this guy. I was probably 28, and I couldn't get into, Aetna. I was trying to get into Aetna. I got in the other insurances. I couldn't get into Aetna. Tried, it was closed. Well, I kept on running into this guy who was like 50, and he was at the networking events, and we'd run into each other. And finally, like the third time, he was a fun guy, and I was just talking about what he did, and he happened to be vice president of Aetna in South Florida, right? And
Of
I'm like,
course.
"You got it." I was like, "I can't get into Aetna." I was like, "I've been trying so hard." He's like, "Oh, call." He gives me his number. They call me on Monday. I'll get you in. So sure enough, I call him. within 3 weeks, I'm in network with Aetna, right? And I was ended up being in network for a while with Aetna until I dropped the insurances. But it's just an example of like when you get out there and you do these things and you meet people, there's these strategic byproducts that happen. It's not always that transactional, like, okay, yeah, I met you, you met me, you send me business, I send you
No.
business, right? It's just building this relationship apparatus in the community, and you don't know what you're going to get out of it, right? You might get
Mhm.
a round of golf with someone at a cool country club, and then all of a sudden you meet someone there, and then that person, that golf pro becomes a patient, and then referrals, right? So it's just
Yeah.
getting out there. Was that basically a lot of what you were doing?
Yeah, and then, just when people did come in, whether it was the one person a week, like, I was locked in, like, treating them, being present the best I could, because that showing off with doing what I knew how to do was the best way to create referrals, is have them talking about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You got to have that experience, that patient experience to be unique, right?
Mhm.
And for them to remark on it, which makes it remarkable. Chiropractors, if your website traffic or Google Maps visibility has felt a little unpredictable lately, you're not imagining it. A lot is changing behind the scenes. AI is reshaping how search results show up. Competition in the map pack is getting tougher, and simply ranking well does not always translate into new patients. That's why Propel Marketing and Design is hosting a free chiropractic SEO workshop. You'll learn what's actually changing with Google Maps, how AI is impacting the way patients find and choose clinics, and what small, realistic updates you can make this year to stay visible and competitive. This is not a high level talk or a bunch of jargon. It's a practical step by step workshop built for busy clinic owners who want clear direction and next steps they can actually implement. Save your spot for free at propelyourcompany.com/MCM SCO workshop 2026. And we'll see you there. I don't necessarily dive into all like the specific details of particular people and stuff that you work with, but how did you kind of get your break working with? Was it pro athletes first, or was it entertainment first, or both? Where
Both.
kind of
Yeah.
both? What was kind of the first the tipping point there where it happened? Obviously, you're in a an area that is chock full of folks that are of well known names, but like, just how did that happen?
Word of mouth referrals, initially, and then from there, they just, like, talk to their teammates or their band or, there's so many different careers within the entertainment or industry
Yeah.
too. So really it was that and, to focus on the professional sports side, a little bit, that's a little harder than people think of maintaining because they get traded, their contracts are up, they're in off season, on season, they're moving, like, a consistent thing of that is very difficult to build.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just, like,
It
knowing
is.
that going in, it shouldn't be your only thing.
Hey, I'm glad you brought that up because, yeah, I mean, because like, it's 2026 right now, and I don't have hardly any pro athletes in my practice. A couple
Mhm.
that are retired that come in because I moved up to Boca Raton. But when I was down
Yeah.
in closer to Miami, I mean, I worked the NFL Combine for 12 years
Mhm.
at a bunch, and to your point, yeah, like circumstances can change or players can change, and if you hang your hat only on that, then it could be tricky. But obviously, it can be a great thing for many reasons, for
Mhm.
sure. What would be if someone? I just would like one tidbit of advice. If someone does get an opportunity to work someone of some recognition, what are some things you've learned to kind of navigate that professionally and really be of value to that particular person?
Well, something that serves me just naturally, I feel like very well is I don't know who people are. Like I'm not into pop culture. I'm not
Yeah.
in so like I really go in like you're just a person. Like I don't
Yeah.
really get starstruck.
Mm,
And they can feel that right away.
yeah.
They are just people who, put however they get dressed, they put a pant leg in just like you and I, and they poop too, or they should be
Yeah.
pooping. We need to talk
Yes.
about that if they're and like treating them like that.
Yeah.
I think is one of the biggest things that they value. And then their schedules need a lot of flexibility. And it's not, people get annoyed of like, oh, their schedule changes. Well, their coaches change things. The planes change. Like you're going to have to work late nights, and weekends. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, you gotta be flexible for sure.
Mhm.
But yeah, to your point, I learned a lesson when I was a teenager. My grandfather had an opportunity to go fishing with a few other guys with Jack Nicklaus, the golfer.
Mhm.
And he was telling a story where they got on the boat and Jack was like very nice and cordial and introduced himself. And he said, we can talk about fishing. We can talk about this. We can talk about anything. I don't want to talk about golf. And he said it
Yep.
in a nice way. It wasn't like
Right.
being rude,
Mhm.
but it was just like he just wanted to be a regular guy. Like he just
Mhm.
wanted to talk about fishing or whatever.
Mhm.
Didn't want to be asked about the Masters. And I remember when I kind of took that to heart where when I started working with certain people, it was like, I'm not gonna ask him about football and like, oh, what was your favorite play that
Mhm.
you've ever had? Like, because some people I get in
Mhm.
these situations, they start grilling them on this stuff.
Mhm.
And so I would try to find a thread, right? Of
Mhm.
like whatever it is that's completely off the topic of
Mhm.
sport or music or whatever. And I found that's a strategy to at least start to connect with them differently. And you got to
Mhm.
obviously respect the certain barriers for sure.
Right. And I'm sure you found this too, but their schedules are busy and packed. So whatever time they have with you, like that is also their time to recover and like
Mm,
decompress. And so sometimes
yeah.
silence is fine. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
feeling that out, reading that out of like, okay, maybe they're stressed. They had a bad practice, bad game, whatever it is. Just like give them a second, you do your thing and go from there.
Yeah. That's great. Let's take a short break from today's episode to tell you about the best decision I've made in my clinic in the last 10 years, and that has been adding shockwave therapy to our clinic. The outcomes have been really impressive. Certain conditions we were struggling with in the past, we're now seeing results with the shockwave therapy for that. And second of all, the ROI has been really good. When you make a big investment in something, you want to see a return, and we're seeing that return in clinical outcomes and in our investment, and that's been really nice to see. I chose Keenest Medical for 4 reasons. One is the technology is top notch. You have to have great technology. There's a lot out there that isn't quite up to snuff. The second thing is they have a really good clinical training. They have an exclusive partnership with Academy of Shockwave Excellence so that you can become clinically proficient in shockwave. You do need to get skilled at it. I think that's a big differentiator between practices that are getting great results and seeing the ROI is they have a great clinical aspect to that as well. So you want to get trained appropriately. Third is they have in-house service team for all of your technical support, which is key when you're investing in a machine like this. And then lastly, they have a very in-depth marketing and business support for you so that you can launch this into your practice effectively, that you can get that ROI on it, that you can get the clinical outcomes. And they also have really good financing options if you need that. So go to kinasmedical.com, KINAS medical.com, mention MCM podcast and receive a free shockwave in practice book with a purchase of a unit. So that's kinasmedical.com, KINAS medical.com, and mention MCM podcast. Let's transition a little bit. I want to talk about you are cash based practice and you've been that way from the beginning. Is that accurate?
Mhm.
What have you found that, because that can always be challenging to grow and scale? What have been some other strategies around that to where or maybe even there's been hurdles? But there's a lot of young chiropractors out there that think it's the holy grail to go cash. And I think in a
Mhm.
lot of ways it can really reduce a lot of headaches, but can be challenging as well.
Mhm.
What have you found for you that's helped out with being cash? Being able to hire multiple doctors, have a team around you, grow a practice from there. Just any words of wisdom that
Mhm.
someone could gain.
Um, and this was passed along to me, and it ended up being true of just like, listen, going cash can be great, but just realize it's going to be a lot slower than if you take
Mhm.
insurance, and that is so true. It's like
Yeah.
the low and slow starting the fire, um, because it is like you are shrinking your database of people who can come in. I don't know insurance to like know the trade offs. I
Mhm.
just the cash thing for me, it's just I didn't have to hire someone to just fight with insurance. And we do provide super bills and all that, which is a challenge in itself to like
Mm.
what's the insurance company reimbursing for? What is it not? And trying to support our patients in that way. But I think that when people like pay, there's a different kind of like energy exchange of investment of value. Um, okay, and they're not paying for me and how I practice. I can't do the 10-minute thing. Like they are paying for an hour or 30 minutes of time with
Mhm,
just the doctor. And I feel like that holds a lot of value
mhm. Yeah,
where
and
people
then, like
feel like it's worth it.
yeah, and then, like you mentioned, kinda like the slow burn to it, and I think that's, typically because it takes time to position yourself as an expert, right? Like,
Mhm.
you do have to be positioned in a certain way to where enough people are willing to pay, that money for it, and obviously, as you can increase your cash rates and go there, I think some people get discouraged because they haven't yet positioned themselves as an expert. They haven't done enough to get there yet. Sometimes just a matter of time. That's why it can be a slow burn to get there versus go opening up in network. It can happen quite a bit quicker, and then you could choose to get rid of some insurance as you go along. That's kind of how I did it. But
Mhm.
I just think that what you did was obviously hustle and get out there and do that, but really did a good job of positioning yourself as an expert because you brought the goods as well. Like you can't just say I'm going to position myself as an expert because this is the other mistake I see people make is they 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 put lipstick on a pig, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm going to position myself as an expert. I'm going to do social media. I'm going to get out in the community,
Mhm.
but then clinically they're just not there. So that when that person does come and exchange that money for the service, it was like, oh well, he was nice, but that really wasn't effective. Like I'm not going to pay $100 every time I come in for that, right?
Yeah.
And so you got to bring both things.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point, and I think that is something that people miss, because they're
Mm,
so excited. I don't care whether you're starting your own or whether you're an associate, whatever path you may choose. Like, when you get out of school, you're still not good. I'm sorry, like,
it's
and
true.
there's a lot of learning and, like, my thing, the reality check, I'm pretty honest.
Mm,
Like, even me, I failed and I still fail.
mhm.
There's a lot of growth even years beyond no matter how long you've been in practice, and you have to know that going in, and especially for at first, you're gonna mismanage cases even though you think you're not going to, and you're gonna make those mistakes, and,
Mm.
um, just accepting that and being excited and ready for that growth and, like, that gratitude of people even coming in and that you get the opportunity to self-reflect and be like, "What can I do to be better?" is something that I think we should normalize a little bit more. It's not jumping out, "Oh my god, did you know I was president of this club?" No patient cares.
Mhm.
It's still you haven't had, like, the hands-on management case experience as you do in practice, and that's, like, really hard for the first 3 to 5 years. Um, Meanwhile, you, like, want your books to be full, but you
Mhm.
still have a lot of learning to do.
You do, and I think it even we can even bring it back to like when you kind of mentioned it earlier, but when you're let's call it a late term chiropractic student, you need to be doing things then
Mhm.
to help. And you were doing a lot of shadowing clinics, and I think that's huge. Like if you're kind of late DC program, you haven't graduated yet, you need to be getting out there and learning and positioning yourself as a student and really learn from other experts, go to different seminars, get really good
Mhm.
clinically so that you can at least shorten the window, right? Like it's this blend of having delayed gratification on one hand, but then trying to shorten that
Mhm.
delay as much as
Yeah.
you can. It's going to be there, but we don't want it to be a 20-year thing, right? How about a
Right.
5 to
Yeah.
7 year thing? And it starts
Yeah.
as a student.
Yeah, and I would say that's great advice too, of like what you said of if you do want to associate, like start that process early. Like when you're sending out a thing, I'm graduating next week and I need a job, that's just that makes me as a business owner, what? Like,
Yeah.
well, where's your time management and self-organization?
Mhm. It's so true. Like I've over 21 years, I've had some where I'm like, wow, that person, is really on the ball. Like they're try
Mhm.
seven or whatever, and
Mhm.
they already have met all these other chiropractors that I know of, and they've shadowed with them, and they've learned from them. It's like, okay, this person is taking this serious.
Mhm.
And then okay, now we can fast forward and they've graduated, and let's just say they've taken an associate role. I think one of the things that I wish more associates early on would take serious is the fact that you got to kind of put it, I would imagine, or I would recommend, you got to put in that same level of like as an associate as if you were opening your own, right? It's like they wait to say, "Yeah, I'm just going to wait till I open my own." I was like, well, now you're going to try to open up a business, and the first time is you're going to do any of these things is then when you could have done it as an associate. I think you got to go all in as associate, because one of two things is going to happen. If you go all in and you do exactly what you did to start your practice, Audra, and you get out there and you hit it hard, you're going to build a great book of business within the walls of a great practice, and you could be there forever and make great money and have great career satisfaction, have all these opportunities, and that's amazing. Or if, 3 to 5 years in, you want to, spread your wings and move somewhere
Mhm.
and open up a practice, at least this isn't the first time you're doing it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and I
So
would say, like, especially if it's a practice you really love and see yourself at. Like, if my practice existed, I would rather associate. You can make way more money a lot of times and way less stress. Um, where there's already a stage built for you, and you just have to, like, do your work to be on that stage, where you don't have to build the stage from the get-go.
yeah, I'm seeing so many more scenarios like you just mentioned now, where there's an existing practice that a ton of work was put in, that that people forget about and don't see, right?
Mhm.
They don't see the first few years. They see the 10th year, the 15th year.
Yep.
And so you got this great situation and you can build within that. And I think I'm definitely seeing that more, which is great. And I think providing I actually just wrote a blog article for Cairo Up, and it was about bridging the associate owner kind of gap that's
I read
happening
that.
there. Oh, good, good. Yeah. And because it's been something that I've lived it. I've been an
Mhm.
associate. I've had quite a few associates. I've talked obviously to a lot of chiropractors, and I think there can be a middle ground there. And I think providing clarity of path is helpful, and
Mhm.
realizing. And one of the things that I've come to realize, and I did do this with my last doc, is it's good to actually share the origin story of the practice with
Mhm.
the team, right? So they say, yeah, this is, you don't have to tell me we're eating ramen noodles and
Yeah.
things like that, and make it this like pity party, but just say, hey, look, we started out and we had 7,000 square or 700 square feet, and we were seeing 20 patients a week for the first year. Like, just and then just like give them where it came from, so that way they
Mhm.
see it's like, okay, yeah, like this took a lot of work to do it.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm grateful I've had the opportunity. I don't know if you know this, I've totally rebranded the business, and
Oh, really?
everything.
Tell
So
us.
it was Spinal Sport Rehabilitation
Yep.
Institute. It is now Lumara Concierge, your body elevated, and we are hopefully moving spaces. So we kind of have
Okay.
gone through this whole like new era, as Taylor Swift would say,
Very
just
good.
uh so that we can launch and everyone can like grow with it. Isn't, just me of Spina Sport.
Yeah,
It's everyone in this new name.
that's awesome. And I want to touch on that for a second. Then I want you to share your vision of this.
Mhm.
Anybody out there that's listening, if you feel like you need a rebrand, you're concerned about a rebrand, it's usually like 9 times out of 10 well worth it.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's not easy. You got to do this, you got to do that, whatever.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot
It's
of work.
it was 8 months of work.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. We rebranded MCM and over the time and this and that, but like I made one switch because we were Modern Chiropractic Marketing as a
Mhm.
company for a while, and the
Mhm.
podcast was Modern Chiropractic Mastery. Now the company is Modern Chiropractic Mastery, but I had to spend like $4,000 on trademarks to do it. So
Oh,
it's not fun, but it's
no.
usually worth it. Like, it usually is worth it, because when you're heart of hearts, you're growing from what it was to what your vision is. And if you got it, you got to do it oftentimes. So I'm excited that you did that. So share with us what the vision is. I love to hear this.
Well, I had a feeling I was just like, well, first of all, writing Spinal Sport Rehabilitation Institute, what a nightmare. And like what the email was like, Dr. Lance at spinesportrehabilitation.com. I mean, what a pain. And that has been like that. But I also got a huge business audit done. And they had said, you need to trademark your name, like
Yeah.
where you're at in business and everything. And of course, Spine and Sport, there's so many of those. There was
Yep.
no way that was going to go through. So it was kind of, my gut knew it. And then I got confirmation because I'm always worried that I'm going to go to jail for something I don't even know about. Um, it's and so it gave us the chance. I was asking patients,
Hmm.
how do you feel when you leave here? What do you think about this place? Just all these probing questions for months and multiple different people. And things that kept coming back was I feel so much lighter when I leave. You're such a light. The team is such a light. Like I'm drawn to this place. I feel so much better. So, did a lot of research and everything. And one of my patients actually came to me and they're like, we got it. And I'm like, what? And they're like, Lumara. And I was like, what? And they're like, it's Latin roots, which is, the book of medicine. So lum means to illuminate, to make lighter. And it
Hmm.
also is gracefully. And then ara is the root word for body.
Oh.
And I was like, that's it. And we could go through the trademark. It passed that test. And concierge, we just, like I said earlier, you're either with us for an hour or 30 minutes just with the doctor. Um, and that is just like a very concierge medicine practice. And we try to go above and beyond, accommodate you and your schedule in
Yeah.
whatever way we can.
That's great, and, like,
Mhm.
really clear on what your niche is. Actually have, Lindsay Muma coming to speak to
Yeah.
our West Mastermind group in Santa Fe in a month, and she's talking about that because obviously she's done such a great job of she is who she is, and her practice reflects that, and
Hmm.
you know exactly what, you're getting when you go there, and it's such a unique experience,
Hmm.
and I love when chiropractors like yourself just really hone in on that
Hmm.
and really like double down on it because it's so good and it really helps you separate yourself, especially because you're in an area that's got a lot of chiropractors, a lot of people, is very competitive, and you got to do what you can to um, really reflect what you are as a clinic, as a chiropractor, and who your audience is. So
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you. It's really exciting.
That's
It just feels so like much more me, much more us, and much more importantly, our patients.
yeah, no, absolutely. And
Mhm.
then is there any thoughts on where to take that, and whether it's, I know, obviously a new space. So tell me about the new space.
Mhm. What a nightmare. Oh, the joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I always say to the client with our whole experience, we're the Chanel of the business. We're very white glove service touch
Hmm.
points. And space that aligns with that. Um, I'm not exactly sure how everything's looking yet. We're still in the permitting phase, which I thought
Yep.
we'd be well beyond by now. So
Mm.
we're still in those drawings and, with the architects and everything, where we're going from here. But I will keep you updated and I'm very
That's
excited.
that's perfect. I want to tell you about something my clinic has recently integrated because I think it's relevant to much of what we talk about on this show. If you're maxed out and can't take new patients, or patients are getting better and just leaving, you don't have a clinical problem, you have a systems problem. That's what P2P Pathway solves for you. It's a model that takes your patients from rehab into ongoing strength and performance programming inside your existing practice using Tonal's AI driven equipment. No trainer required, no separate gym build out. The result is recurring monthly revenue that doesn't depend on how many patients you can personally see in a day. They run live seminars where they walk you through the entire system, hands on, in person. Attendees also get exclusive discounts on equipment, including Tonal, that you can't get anywhere else. Seats are limited. The link is in the show notes. If you're serious about adding a recurring revenue stream to your practice, this is worth your 2 days. So check out www.p2ppathway.com. One of the things that I've noticed from this conversation is I was in my strategic coach meeting last month, and one guy was speaking, and he was talking about how his brother is like so much smarter than him and more capable and all this. But this guy talking is a very successful entrepreneur, and his brother, great guy, but it's just kind of been a job guy. And nothing wrong with that, right? But he was like talking to his wife. He's like, I don't understand why my brother won't like start this business because he keeps on talking about it, but he won't do it. And the guy's wife was like, well, you have the willingness to suffer, and
Mm,
your brother doesn't. And I was like, well, that's what entrepreneurship is, right? That's what
yeah.
starting a business, and frankly, just even being a chiropractor of any ilk, like just
Yeah.
being a doctor, going through 8 years of school,
Yeah.
dealing with patients, dealing with failure of patients, like it's just how much suffering can you take? And those are the ones where when I notice they know they're going to suffer, but they know on the other end if it's better and they do it anyway. Those are the ones that usually really reach their vision. So I commend you on your
Well,
willingness
thank
to
you.
suffer.
And I think it's like kind of be excited about it and what you're going to learn
Yeah.
about yourself and how you're going to grow. Of like,
Mhm.
okay, I know this is going to suck, but like you said at the end, but like that whole process of who it's going to make me as a
Yeah.
better person and like love something about myself more and be able to serve my patients or connect with them better through this experience. Is kind of the exciting and addicting part for me.
It is. And in a masochistic way for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's exciting. And so, yeah, the building stuff, the new space is always a challenge. I've coached a handful of people through that, actually quite a few, and I always
Hmm.
say, it's going to suck. There's gonna be a lot of obstacles, but it's always worth it. It's always
Hmm.
worth it, and you just gotta
Hmm.
kind of get through it. So
Yeah. And that next
cool.
leap of faith, the bigger space and like putting more money in, it's scary because you're like, okay, where's this money coming from? But like, you have to have that faith.
You do, and you and I were kind of chatting, but you just mentioned kind of reinvesting money into the space and stuff like that, and
Hmm.
it's I kind of referenced when we were before we hit record. Greg Crabtree talks about like what do you do with profit? Obviously
Hmm.
we're in chiropractic, we're working on thinner margins than if you're a plastic surgeon or a brain surgeon, right? Or,
Right. Huge.
or
Yeah.
or a hedge fund manager. Like we're working on smaller margins and we got to be smart with the profit that we do have. And he always has that recommendation, like if you got profit, you still, you got to pay the tax. So you got tax on profit. Let's call it a third of that. And then he recommends a third to take as an owner's distribution, rewarding yourself for building a profitable business. And then he has that other third is reinvesting into the business. And I think that's always important to be willing to reinvest in the business, not only for yourself, but for your patients, right? You're going to have a
Hmm.
better space and experience, but also your team, your
Hmm.
other team members, your other doctors. It gives them the ability to grow more and obviously have a better space and better branding and better patient experience. So all that helps them grow. And I think that's a level of leadership that is hard, right? It's hard to take profit and not and go and waste it. Like, cause it could be nice. You could, go and buy whatever, like it'd be nice stuff and you can go do that. But being able to take that and reinvest it in your business and the rebrand that you're doing, cause I know that doesn't come cheap, but you're reinvesting in everybody, your patients, your team. And that's a level of sacrifice and delayed gratification, kind of like going back to early starts with it. And it's cool to see you do that.
No, well, thank you. Yeah. And I spend a lot reinvesting back in the business. And like you said, the team is very important to me too. I've been able to offer health benefits and matching 401k, which is
Oh,
really hard in our industry,
very hard.
but very costly because, and I didn't even fully realize this until I did it. I mean, you have the cost of opening it, then the cost of paying for it, but then there's taxes on top of that for that. And it's just like, oh, wow, but
Yeah.
like you
Yeah.
said, you're kind of just like, okay, this is what I would want if I work somewhere.
Yeah.
And just trying to like love on your team and set them up for success as best as you can. Even
Mhm.
though like every individual has to do their own work.
Yeah. I mean, the 401k, when I remember when I think I implemented it 5 years ago for the clinic. I definitely
Hmm.
dragged my feet for a while and I was like, okay, the guy was going over the match. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I can do that. And then I didn't realize there's also the management fee every
Yeah. Oh yeah,
quarter.
that too.
And I was like, it's like, oh, you got me there too. But
Oh.
it's been neat because I have someone that's been working for me, and she's not a doctor, but she's been working for me for almost like since the beginning of the 401k. And I
Oh.
remember last year I was like, look, this is how much is in there now. And she's like, oh wow. Like she kind of hadn't been keeping up with it other than
Yeah.
contributing and I match and doing all that. And
Yeah.
it's been like a nice chunk of change in there now. And like something
Yeah.
that she was really very happy about. And so cool. I'm glad you added that. And the health insurance, that's a whole other animal that
Mhm.
makes my knees weak to talk about.
I know. Yeah, because it's funny because we're a cash-based business, so I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't like
Yeah. Yeah.
gotta do it. But reinvesting in your business, you can't expect it to grow if you don't take the first step yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and having a framework for reinvesting in it, which is
Mhm.
great. It's kind of the vision meets the financials of it, and if you
Mhm.
get those two things right, it's fun. You're building
Mhm.
something, and then ultimately, what you're doing well too that I like is you're building something that is scalable, and then down the road at some point it's sellable and it becomes an asset. And what's cool about doing that now, even if you're not planning on selling it for 30 years, is if you make it sellable now, it usually means that it's running very efficiently and good. And so you might as well do it now because that way it becomes more profitable while you own it. And then, yeah, you have an asset at the end. There's nothing worse than going to retire and you just don't have anything to sell.
Mhm. Yeah. And it's been the past couple years of me just even learning about that because it is hard because we are humans. Your business is human. It's not like a tech product you can sell or rely on. And a lot of it with doctors, it fully relies on us. Um, and that can be good and bad. But like especially down the line.
Yeah.
And once again, I love that you're talking about all that because like in school, like I said, I've just learned about it a couple years
Mhm.
ago,
Yeah.
of all of that.
Yeah. It's a learning process. I mean, I'm still learning.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
learning all the mistakes that I made in the past, but that's part of growth. Kind of like you mentioned earlier with clinical care, right? You
Mhm.
learn from making mistakes and not getting results or missing that cause of what that actually was going on, and it's part of the process. So
Yeah. So what's your big vision for the podcast?
yeah, so we are in our ninth year. I haven't missed a week. We release every week, and that's been cool. I would say the podcast is I love doing it, and it's cool because I started the podcast and I didn't have a business around it. Just for 2 years, I didn't monetize. It just was
Mhm.
free content, and then wrapped the business around it. Now, Modern Chiropractic Mastery, and we've grown substantially with our coaching groups and our mastermind, and we do one-off things here and there. And I think our big hairy audacious goal honestly is just to get evidence-based chiropractors like really good at business. And what good at business is, I heard someone say this some years ago, is just offering the best patient experience, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that's what it boils down to. And then you can
Mhm.
reverse engineer what it takes to do that, right? Because and I'll just give one example of where the patient experience can get chipped away at if you're not careful. Is if you're struggling in business, you then go into that patient encounter financially worried and concerned, and how am I going to hit payroll? And of course, that's going to impact your patient experience and your connection with that patient in the room, or even worse, is if you start making clinical decisions only based on the money, right?
Mhm.
And so that's, my goal is to just get chiropractors thriving, and whatever that looks like. There's not one answer to that. That's why I like to have people like you on to come and share
Mhm.
the vision
Mhm.
of where you're going, what it took to get there, because it has different paths. It's rarely easy. Uh,
Yeah.
and I want really good clinicians to start getting really good business
Mhm.
strategy, and then you have fun with it. And when you get to your mid 40s like me, maybe
Mhm.
you finally feel comfortable with your life
Mhm.
financial and do
Exactly.
it well, right?
Exactly. I love that. And I 100% agree with you because you have to love this because of the patience and why you got into it, or you'll never succeed. Like if you
Exactly.
don't fully, and I know I had friends from school, they've gotten out of it because it has to be about the client and the patient every
Mhm.
single day.
Yep, it does. And you did that. And then it's okay to marry on to that good business strategy.
Mhm. Oh,
It's
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. Like there's good business strategy. And we're not talking about being a snake or a shark, like where you're just
Mm-mm.
like taking advantage of people and you're whatever. But it's just like you can be patient centered and really damn good at business. And there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that.
Mhm.
So
No, I love that. And what's your
well,
best business advice? Because I feel like the more the
yeah.
better that you, like, wish you woulda known 21 years ago.
Yeah, I would say my best business advice is, I guess, to first have a mindset that I'm going to get really good at business. So like, okay, I'm going to become a good business person.
Mhm.
And the way I will frame it a lot of times is from a book that I can never remember, which, I reference this book so many times you'd think I would remember it, but he talks about skill stacking. And I really love that idea. Like, okay, we could
Yep.
skill stack clinically. Okay. So we could, get good with soft tissue, get good with adjustment, get good with
Mhm.
rehab. That's skill stacking, which then
Mhm.
produces one product, which is great. But it's the same thing as like, I want to take a good clinician and I want to stack a skill of communication. Like, let's get you good at communicating. Okay.
Mhm.
And then let's stack a skill of understanding money. Okay, great.
Mhm.
Let's get a marketing skill stack. Let's get a,
Mhm.
leadership skill. Like, let's keep on stacking that. So now
Mhm.
Audra becomes this powerhouse of like, yeah, she's really good clinically, but also can communicate well to patients and team and can reinvest money because there's financial wherewithal there. So
Mhm.
I would start looking at the stack, right? Like what's the next thing I got to do? Okay, I feel good clinically. Let's maybe tack on marketing and get
Mhm.
pretty good at that or get someone to help me out with.
Mhm.
So that would
Mhm.
be my long-winded answer.
I love that.
You should
That's
start your own podcast. You're already
well, I have one. It's on
testing.
hiatus.
Okay. That's why? What are you doing? You didn't
Oh,
do
yeah,
anything
there just
else?
weren't enough hours in the day, but no. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Anyone that needs to contact me, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm on Instagram, Dr. Audra Lance, and now it's Dr. Lance at experiencelumara.com.
perfect. Love it. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for this. And hopefully we have a part two of this at some point.
I would love that.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time-free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence-informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.